Should I start?
Yes.
Okay, we're ready to go. Perhaps a couple minutes later than we envisioned, but hopefully you're all seeing us now live from Charlottesville, Virginia, from the Darden School. I'm Yael Grushka-Cockayne, and I'm the course instructor for Fundamentals of Project Planning and Management. And this is Leslie.
Hello, everyone. I'm Leslie Cook. I'm a master's student here at the University of Virginia, helping Yael with this awesome course on Coursera.
And we're really excited to be here today for our first live Hangout. The purpose of our session today is just to give you a little bit of an overview. What are we going to be doing over the next few weeks together, to tell you a little bit about who we are, why we're here, what our objectives are, and to give you an opportunity to tell us a little bit about yourselves. We're going to tell you about our course and tell you a little bit more in detail about the structure, what you're going to be experiencing and how you'll experience it and what you need to do in order to get a certification and so on. And finally, towards the end of our session today, we're going to have an opportunity to answer some of your questions that are coming in through the Twitter feed and to propose ways in which you can increase your engagement throughout the duration of the course. So let's get started. We thought it might be interesting and fun to share a little bit about the background. So I'll tell you a little bit about who I am and why I decided to launch this course, this MOOC on Coursera. So I'm an assistant professor here at the Darden School of Business at the University of Virginia. I've been here for 6 years now, and my main role is teaching MBA students and executives and practitioners out there in the world a variety of topics. I teach decision analysis and I teach project management. I also do a lot of research in these domains, and I'm passionate about progressing the way that individuals make decisions, and more importantly, to our context, how individuals and organizations plan projects efficiently. Over the past few years, I've been offering an elective course for our students here on project management. One of my alums a couple years ago, as she was about to leave Darden and go out to the world and to take her first job post-MBA, she came to me in the summer and she said, "You know, Yael, I wasn't able to take your course. I didn't have the capacity and I couldn't get in. But I really need these tools as I start my new job, and I can't find online material that will be suitable. Can you help me and provide some guidance?" And so she and I did some searching and exploration, and we realized that there aren't really that many good entry-level accessible materials out there. And perhaps Coursera, this wonderful platform, will allow us to provide the world or those individuals who feel that they need some introductory and some extra capabilities around project management, such a fundamental and important skill, opportunity to develop a set of materials and to provide them with that course. And so I set upon the journey of putting together this MOOC. I contacted Coursera with the collaboration of UVA and said, how about we launch an open online course around the topics of project management. And luckily to me, there was indeed an acceptance on the other side and a lot of enthusiasm. And here we are in front of you, ready to launch our first course. So that's what we hope to achieve, and that's why I'm here. I'm excited to learn about why you're here, and I'm excited to learn about who you are, what brought you to our class and to our course, what encouraged you to enroll. If you haven't yet enrolled, what might encourage you to enroll, and what you hope to get out of today's this course and the next few weeks of course. And so one of the opportunities to do so is through our forums. We have discussion forums on the course. Once you've enrolled and registered, you should have access to our discussion forums. Please take a moment to tell us about who you are. Why are you coming to our class? What experience do you or do you not have in project management, and what you hope to get out of our course here together. I think that will create some joint set of incentives, and we can help everybody fulfill and meet their goals to the best of our ability. Leslie, do you want to add anything about those introduction discussion boards?
Sure. So go ahead and post in the discussion forum about yourself and your goals for the course. We also have a course launch survey that you can feel free to take and tell us a little bit more about yourself in the survey, and it'll be open for the first 2 weeks of the course.
And so the course formally opens on Monday, April 20th, and will run for 4 weeks. What we're going to do next is I'll show you a little bit of an overview. Maybe, Leslie, you can bring up the overview in front of us. And I'll tell you a little bit about what we're going to cover in each week. But part of during the course, some of the material will become available as we progress and as we cover some of the topics together. And so if you don't see all of the material in front of you right now, don't worry, you'll get many notifications and you'll see everything accessible to you as the course develops and progresses as of Monday when it formally starts. So here's a little bit of an overview of what we're going to do together. We have a course that lasts 4 weeks. Week 1 is all about project definition, project success and failures, a broader perspective on what projects are all about. We're going to see several different topics, but let me tell you a little bit about them. We're going to talk a little bit about an overview of the course and what our objectives are, and give some granularity and detail on that in terms of what we're going to cover each week. We're going to define what a project is and what a project isn't. We're going to talk about how to start a project by defining it properly and setting project objectives. We're going to talk about why it's important to set project objectives and how we might be able to identify and prioritize trade-offs. Then we're going to move on to talk a little bit about the organization of a project and who are the stakeholders and how we might want to think about them and why it's so important to do so. After that, we're going to talk about project success and failures. I'm going to also point you to a few external videos that might enrich the way that you think about project success and failures, and encourage you to participate in discussions around when is a project successful, how do we measure success, and when do projects fail and why. And finally, part of the first week, we're also going to cover a little bit of what it is that comprises the project life cycle. What are the different steps that we need to keep our eyes open to, and what we need to think about when we plan and execute projects. Week 2 and 3 in general are all about planning. Week 2 is about planning a project, the basic steps that we must execute when we plan a project. And week 3 is adding to the project plan the component of risk, and how do we take into account uncertainty that we might be facing in our project. So let me tell you a little bit more about those 2 weeks. In week 2, we're going to define a project plan, and we're going to talk about how to scope a project out to make sure that we're including the right set of activities. We're going to talk about dependencies and how we select those dependencies, and what is a critical path of a project, and how do we set a completion date. And finally, we're going to talk a little bit about what if we don't like the project plan, and how do we make changes to it, and some typical pitfalls in planning projects. If you want, and if you have an interest, we also will have supplementary software videos that will provide you some insight into how you might execute on some of these planning steps in a software tool. And we're going to also have some supplementary videos around case studies and projects that I've been involved with that should enrich the way that you think about projects, and some real-life stories from companies and how they set about planning their projects. In week 2, specifically, that's going to be the Virginia Festival of the Book. Week 3, as I said, is all about risks and how do we plan, given that we know that we live and operate in a world that has some uncertainty and risk to it. We're going to spend some time talking specifically on schedule risk. What are ways to think about completing a project on time, and how can we be more accurate in setting those deadlines? And we're going to also talk about how do we plan for very ambiguous situations. What might sound as an oxymoron if we have a project that has a lot of ambiguity and we don't quite know what it might entail, how do we still utilize some of the tools that we've introduced in the class? And finally, in week 4, we're going to talk about moving into action. How do we execute projects, and how do we monitor that everything is progressing as it should be? We're going to be introduced to the concepts of earned value analysis and get a little bit of a preview on the set of tools that, that exist in that domain. And then we're going to think about the individuals, the psychology and the tendencies that individuals have when they're working on projects, and open our minds to some modern day methodologies that help overcome certain tendencies. And that takes us into the world of agile project management. We'll talk about what is agile project management and terms that you may or may not have heard, such as Scrum project management or Kanban. And finally, we're going to wrap up, and hopefully we're going to all feel content and satisfied having gone through these 4 weeks of project management introduction. Anything to add about that, Leslie?
That's it. It sounds like a great schedule.
It's going to be intense, but hopefully very rewarding. And I'm excited to hear your feedback as we move along. But before we turn to questions, I wanted to also talk a little bit about the format. I think that it's important, and Leslie will make sure that I stay on track. She's the expert in the details. But this is the format of our course. As we know, the course is 4 weeks. Every week, you will see a new set of videos being released to you. So we took all the topics that I just introduced with the roadmap, and we've broken them down into small videos that you can watch one at a time. Within each week, we also have supplementary case studies that you can read about real companies and the stories of their projects, whether successful or not, and hopefully learn from those individual case studies. And we have discussion opportunities that will follow the week, specific questions to that week and the content that I present to you that week, specific questions related to the case studies that we introduce each week, and just general discussions that might evolve either from any of our students or the learners out there globally across the world, or from our team will be posted in the discussion board, and we highly encourage you to participate and to share your thoughts, your questions, your discoveries, and your new knowledge. We're gonna, in addition to the discussion boards and the weekly videos, we're gonna have 2 additional Hangout sessions that you're gonna hear about more, that are gonna be live sessions like the one that we're having today, that will provide opportunity for you to join in with questions over Twitter and to have more of a dialogue going to the best of our ability, so you can have current and up-to-date questions based on what you've experienced to that point. And finally, we have 4 quizzes. We have 4 quizzes that we're going to have, one for each week. Most of them have 10 to 12 questions approximately that you have to answer. For the most part, they're multiple choice, but there's going to be slight variations to just for the sake of variety. And those quizzes are going to be important, especially if you think about getting a certificate or a statement of accomplishment, then you will need to have gone through those quizzes and answered them to our passing mark. Anything I'm missing around the course overview and what they need to know?
No, I think that's it. But I do have a couple questions that I thought students might be wondering.
Okay.
And so I'd like to go ahead and go through those with you now.
Go for it.
So the first one is, what if something comes up for a student and they can't participate during a given week of the course? They need to travel or something like that. What happens then?
Well, part of the advantages of having the platform that we work with Coursera is that first, the videos are available to you at the beginning of the week, and if you know you're going to travel, and if you have something anticipated on the radar, you can always download the videos and save them locally, and you can watch them at your free time. You can go back and watch videos 1 week to the next. And really, there's a lot of flexibility. Aside from the Google Hangout sessions, which are the only 2 live sessions that we have, there is quite a high degree of flexibility in terms of when you watch the videos and how you break it up to fit your schedule, if you're traveling or not traveling. The only real deadline that we have is associated with completing the entire course. And so if you want to obtain a statement of accomplishment, or if you want to get a specific certification that you've signed up for, then you have to complete all of the assignments and specifically the quizzes by a certain date. And that date right now is set for May 24th. And we have some opportunity, if some technical issues arise, we can work with you around that date. But for the most part, May 24th, which is more than 4 weeks, actually 5 weeks after we start the course, is the only deadline that we really have for this class.
Great, thank you. The second question relates to that, and you mentioned the statement. So what about the statement of accomplishment? What would students need to do to earn that from this course?
So what we've set as our objectives based on what we believe is the right assessment of your expertise in this area is that we require you to pass the weekly quizzes at a 75% level. And this is an average grade across all 4 weeks. So it's cumulative, meaning it's averaged across all 4 weeks. And in each week, you actually have 2 opportunities. So you take the quiz once, and if it didn't work out as you hoped, or if you think that you can actually improve your grade, you're welcome to take a second version, which is basically the same concepts and the same type of questions with slight modifications, of course. And the higher of the 2 quizzes, your higher grade for the 2 quizzes, is the one that will count for that week. And in total, in order to get the statement, you need to have an average of 75%. That's about it. What's important to note is that we worked on the quizzes and we've designed them in such a way that we provide very detailed explanations for the correct and the incorrect answers, hoping that this is an integral part of your learning. Taking the quiz and passing the quiz is a fundamental part of how you internalize the material. No student likes to take exams or quizzes, but it is, hopefully you'll experience it differently through the Coursera platform and with the specific set of questions that we've put together. But the idea is to give you yet another opportunity to master some of the principles. And so view it as just another part of your learning, and hopefully with 2 attempts, it should work out pretty well. We also recommend and encourage you to watch all the videos and participate actively in the forums. We believe that the case studies and the discussion forums should enrich your perspective and the way that you internalize the material. And there'll be a wide community of individuals contributing and helping each other out. And so I highly recommend, although not formally part of the statement of accomplishment, we recommend that you take part in that, in those forums.
So related to the statement of accomplishment, the next question is about the verified certificate. I see that this course is eligible for that. What would I need to do to achieve a verified certificate from this course?
So it's pretty much the same process that you would need to take as it was with the statement of accomplishment. You need to pass the quizzes at a 75% level, but you also need to verify your identity. I think that Coursera has a pretty detailed explanation on how this is being done, and hopefully you'll find all the answers that you need online, but feel free to post questions if you do have any associated with the verified certificate. But basically, follow the same steps that you would to get a statement of accomplishment, and just make sure that you provide identity of exactly who you are, some proof of identity.
Great. So I think we're going to change over and take some live questions from Twitter at this point.
That's exciting.
So I'm going to read them to Yael, and Yael will answer them. So the first one actually is a question about PDUs and how this course can count towards PDUs.
So PDUs, the professional development units, these are typically units that are accumulated in order to get the PMI, the Project Management Institute certification, or these are units that sometimes individuals need to accumulate to preserve their certification if they already got certified. And indeed, our course does fall under the category B, or the continuing education. But we're not necessarily a registered educational provider for the PMI, but our course does count towards those units. So you need to take the course and just submit it to the PMI, and you can find more details on the course site, on our course site. That gives you a link to where you can find out more information, or from the PMI directly. But it does count towards PDUs.
Great. The next question is about software in the course and what kinds of software we'll be discussing for project management purposes.
So the supplementary videos that I mentioned, we're going to have a few supplementary videos available to you as part of the course material. There I will walk you through very short introductions to Microsoft Project, MS Project, and some tools that I will demonstrate in Excel. And so those are available as part of our course, as part of these additional videos. But we also encourage a discussion around software. And so we are going to contribute. I will contribute myself. And we already set up a discussion forum around recommended software tools. And there we can spend more time diving into detail if you're interested in software tools associated with one methodology or another, if you're especially interested in Agile, or if you're looking to do a Monte Carlo simulation. Whatever it is that you're interested in, we'll have an opportunity within those discussion boards to dive into the specifics of the software. In the videos themselves, you will see that I will refer to some software tools, and you'll see screenshots of the results and the output from using software tools. And hopefully the combination of the videos and the context in which the tools are going to be used, the supplementary videos where I walk you through using the software tools, and the discussion forums together should provide a strong enough foundation around software.
Okay, the next question we have here is about the background needed for this course. Some people might be beginners and they're wondering what background they might be needed, how they could prepare for the course.
Okay, great question. So the intention is that the course there's no background required for the course. The course is intended very broadly for anybody who has an interest in project management. Of course, if you do have background, I'll talk in a moment about what you stand to gain from participating in our course. But in general, there is no background needed. We've posted in our welcome email a couple of readings that you could read in preparation for the class, but even that is not necessary in my mind. What I think you should be doing in preparation for Monday, in preparation for the kickoff of this course, is to think about projects that you're familiar with. What have you personally engaged with that you think is a project? What projects have you seen around you in the media? Or what projects have you been part of in your workplace? And think about how they differ from any other ongoing work. Or were they successful and why? Starting to think consciously about those ideas and maybe opening your eyes to any articles in the media or any media mentions of projects that you might have glossed over on a different day, maybe now suddenly take a different shape, or you think about them differently, and jot them down. I think that having examples available to you as we enter the course might be very helpful and might provide a richer context in which you think about the concepts. Read about the new Apple Watch, or how Adidas is going to combat Reebok and Nike, or how the new Tesla car will be developed, or how will we progress our arrival onto Mars. Each one of those can be thought of as a project, and see what you can spot over the next few days in the popular press and around you that you might consider as a project.
We had another question here from another beginner about the #1 lesson you think they'll take away from this course.
That's a great question. I listed such a long list of learner outcomes, which I think are important and will come out of this course. But the #1 lesson is a challenging one. I think that the #1 lesson that I think you'll take is that there are good and better ways to manage projects. There are ways in which we can all push ourselves to be more efficient in planning and executing projects. And projects do not have to be necessarily known as failures. And I'm hoping that you will depart this course with an enthusiasm to embark your next project, and with the gumption to do it right, and will take with you those individuals around you on that journey to complete projects in a better way.
So there's another question here about the recommended or suggested readings that we have for the course. Could you talk a little bit about those and the access to those?
Sure, and that's a great question. So these are all wonderful questions. Thank you for posting, by the way. So the recommended readings were, I view them as a starting point. These are recommended readings. I tried to mix some academically oriented literature with more popular press and more practice-oriented literature. I tried to recommend readings from newspapers and from more publishing houses. So I tried to keep it interesting in terms of the sources. Some are books, some are articles, but hopefully they're all accessible in terms of their pitch and where they're coming from. But they're really a starting point. The course lectures, the videos that you'll gain access to, and the slides that I will share with you should be your entry point. And then we can start building on those set of materials and those initial set of references and recommended readings and create a longer list. So again, I invite the community. We have many enrolled in this course from a very diverse set of background. We have over close to 22,000 folks registered from close to 190 countries around the world. And the more rich conversation around readings, around experiences, around supplementary material will come from our joint efforts here as a community. And so the list that I proposed is just the beginning. I'm hoping to hear from you your favorite or your best read or your best learning material for project management. And hopefully we can share and we can gain build a much longer list together as we progress through the course.
So it's almost 4 o'clock. I think we should probably sign off for now.
Sounds great.
All right. And thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you very much.
We're really looking forward to the launch on Monday, and we'll see you online in class.
Thank you very much. Thank you for helping me out. And I'm excited. And, rest well during the weekend because I'm ready to meet you Monday morning.
All right. Bye, everyone.